How's everyone doing? Can you hear me? Let me see this real quick. Just getting this sorted out. Can you hear me? Anybody else is in here right now? Sending this out. Okay. Cool. How you guys all doing? This is so cool. This is my first live stream, so let me make sure I'm looking in the right spot. So cameras are there. Okay. So I'm doing this on my iPhone, and if there are any issues or delays, just let me know. I'm working on a super slow internet connection because I'm way out in the country, and I have I think it's like 2 or 3 megabytes per second upload. So it's horribly slow. What's up, Stevie? Is there a delay between your message and me talking? Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. All right, so I want to do just a test live stream to first figure out what's the best way of setting this up, but also there's a bunch of Q&As that are questions that I've been getting on my videos that I've been trying to answer, but they're such good questions that it takes a lot of time to add at the end of my videos. So it ended up taking like an 8-minute video and it ended up being a 20-minute video. So I just started cutting those questions out, or the answers to those questions. So I'm gonna start doing those in these live streams. So today, based on the title, we're talking about, I'm answering 4 questions from some previous viewers or from previous videos, and then I might answer a couple other ones if some other folks pop on and ask some good ones. So here we go. Let me know if there's any issues. I'm gonna try to pay attention, looking at the right lens here in the phone, and then answering the messages here on my laptop. So, all right, so the first question it's about finding passion. And this was actually from one of my viewers, Vadim. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name or I remember it incorrectly. But he asked a really great question about, he's in this pursuit right now trying to find passion and what direction to go. And I believe he's in his early 20s, maybe mid-20s, just wrapping up undergrad school or his undergraduate program. And gosh, I'm not an expert in this by any means, but I would say that the big misstep I see a lot of folks take is they try to find a passion. And I definitely have passionate things or things that I'm extremely passionate about, but it didn't come from me actively searching for it. I'm not looking under rocks and poking around there are really things I bumped into just from going through experiences and experimenting with things and bumping into new friends and trying out different stuff. And the great thing about passion that I really enjoy is, and I think there's a little bit of a misconception about it among myself when I was younger, my friends and peers, is that they believe that once you find your passion, that's it, and you grip onto it and it's there for life. And maybe it could be for some people, but what I've noticed is that passions come and go. And so in my early 20s, I was super hyper passionate about rock climbing. I was rock climbing 4, 5, 6 times a week at the gym, and then I would do probably, you know, trips once, twice a year to some destination and be rock climbing outside. And you know, I even did like fingertip exercises. I do all these weird muscle groups just to basically strengthen my grips in my forearms, just so I could rock. Long story short, I did that for 5 years, and I moved past that. And I still rock climb every once in a while when friends get together or whatnot, but I rock climb maybe 2, 3 times a year now. So, but getting back to my point here is that it's not something you actively, things that you think that are interesting, whether it's something new, something that catches your eye from a friend, a coworker, or just something that you read or you stumble upon on the internet, and dive into it and give it an honest chance, whether that means you're buying the gear for it, you go out and you experiment with it, or you do it yourself, and see what becomes of it. And that's the best thing I can say, but I think too often when we go out and we try to find that passion or pursue passionate things that we don't know about yet, is that we just kind of stumble along, and we kind of, for me anyways, it ends up being like a losing battle. All right, messages are blowing up, so I'm gonna come over here real quick. So Stevie, I found food was as an afterthought for most of my life. It wasn't until I took a closer look at my 20s and realized that my passion was food, and I wanted to wake up every day and be around food. Exactly. Gotta pay attention to what makes you tick. Love it. Yeah, Stevie, absolutely. A lot of things. I mean, the same thing was with surfing. I took up, very similar to you, Stevie. I started surfing when I was about 18 or 19. And it was actually the scariest moment. I actually almost died. I actually, another surfer had to take my body, put it on his surfboard, and basically kind of paddle my body back into shore. And God, it was the scariest moment in my life. I remember inhaling the salt water, and I didn't touch a surfboard. I didn't go in the ocean for about 2 years. And then 2 or 3 years later, I went out with a friend, and I decided to basically confront my fear of the water. I didn't swim at all for about 2 or 3 years. And then I fell in love with surfing, and the ocean is basically like my second home now. I just have this immense amount of respect for it. Like, I don't joke around when I go to the ocean, when I go out on boats or anything like that. I just understand the awesomeness of it. And that sounds kind of cheesy, but the awesomeness of it and the power it has. But it took me several years to find that. Deep into my, I guess I was 21, 22 when I really got back into it. So yeah, I agree with you, Stevie. What's up, Tom? What's up, JJ? Tom's about, his new passion right now is learning about Dungeons and Dragons. So if you don't know, I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. I've always been in fantasy games, and I actually have 2 or 3 D&D groups. And so I play quite a bit. And I stumbled into that as well. I actually bumped into these group of guys from jiu-jitsu, and I bumped into jiu-jitsu, and these are all passions of mine, deep passions of mine. I mean, you can see my surfboard right there. I haven't ridden her in a while, but a lot of this stuff I stumble into. It's not stuff that I plan out. So to answer your question, Vadim, I'm sorry, this is super long-winded, is that don't try to go out and pursue a passion. Don't try to find something. Pick things that interest you and then dive into them. And hopefully through that experimentation, meeting new peers, meeting new friends, you'll find your passion along the way, and then you can make something of it. Thanks, Stevie. Yeah, I like the surfboard. It's really cool. It's I think it's a locally made one. I actually bought it secondhand. Oh man, JJ, yeah, those waves in Hawaii can be heavy, especially if you're on the North Shore. A 3-4 foot wave in Hawaii is very different than a 2 or 3 foot wave in a lot of other areas of the U.S. So I hear you, man. All right, moving on to the second question here. Second question, I believe it was from Kevin Lowe from one of my previous, way long ago. And he asked, he's a really young, smart guy. Kevin, if it wasn't you, I apologize. But they asked if, or he asked if he should go and pursue a college degree. And he doesn't know what he wants to do yet. So he feels like the next step is just to go get a degree and if it was worth it. So if you're first time jumping into this live stream, you don't know about my background, I actually have undergraduate degrees in both business management and construction engineering management. And then I also have a graduate degree in, I have my MBA, Master's in Business, and I specialized in finance operations, especially in the world of entrepreneurship. And then on top of that, I also did management style consulting and analytics for universities, specifically universities in Arizona. And then I managed teams and a group of what we called then success coaches and program managers to basically help students get the most out of their college education and improve graduation rates. And if you guys didn't know, there's a huge graduation issue right now amongst the students in the United States. And that's part of the reason why there's a huge student loan debt crisis right now. It's because it's not just because students are graduating school with debt. That's definitely a problem. But the bigger problem is students are not graduating and they're stuck with that debt. So it's kind of like this negative catch-22 where now they can't get a job because they don't have a college degree, or it doesn't help them not having a degree. And then on top of it, they have $50, $60, $70, $80,000 of student debt. So anyways, that's what I did in a previous life. To answer your question, Kevin, if you did ask this question, is that it depends. I clearly love education. I love learning, but it's not for everybody. And it's an extremely expensive life lesson to just try to go out and pursue, not knowing the direction that you want to go. So this is my advice. This would be my advice, is that if something really interests you, kind of going back to the passion question, whether it's programming, it's coding, it's design, graphic design, it's building, construction, whatever it is, if there's something that you're actively working on, something that you really want to pursue it. It might not require a degree. I can go and take online courses right now at Harvard. I can refresh my business skills by taking Harvard level MBA business courses online for free right now. I mean, if you really want to do that, take those courses online for coding, for graphics, all that stuff. You don't need to spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year to get an education that we can get online now and through experience. Now, I say that with a caveat, is that if you're actively pursuing these things, then absolutely do it. But don't fool yourself and like, yeah, I'm only trying to learn to do graphic design, I'll just skip school and take a break. It doesn't work that way. You have to be actively moving yourself forward in some shape or form. And I think a lot of things, what I noticed when I was working with students in the 18, 19-year-old age, and even like my good friends now that I train with in jiu-jitsu, is that we can get caught in this lull, right? Right around the 18 to like 22 years of age, we get caught in this lull where we don't know what to do, and we just kind of chill out, and we just try to find ourselves, or we try to go travel and such. I think that's actually one of the worst things that you can do. There's nothing wrong with contemplating and thinking about what we're doing, but at the same time, those are really the prime years of your life when you're the healthiest, you have the most energy, and you can afford to make mistakes. Obviously, we want to minimize mistakes, but you can recover a lot faster because you have several years down the, not several, but you have more years down the road to correct the path. And so that would be my 2 cents on that. Take it for what it's worth. So college degree, if you don't know what you're doing, I'd say don't do it. If you know that you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be an engineer, and you want to be an architect, or any type of professional like that, definitely go for it. Just understand that you are, sounds negative, but you're painting yourself in a corner to be working in a 50 to 70 hour a week job for the rest of your life. You'll probably get good pay, but at the same time, you're a career gal or dude for the rest of your life. So just realize that. But if you don't know what you're going to do and you're just going to school for athletics, or like you're going to go do a comm major or some sort of liberal arts major, nothing wrong with that at all. It's just you're stacking the chips against yourself in terms of being financially or career successful. I'm not saying it's wrong. I mean, Steve Jobs went, I think he did philosophy at Reed College, or what did he do? He did something crazy like that that wasn't related to the tech industry. So he turned out grand. But I'm just saying statistically, and I've seen the numbers, it's that the students that go into those liberal arts, comms majors, anthropology without a direct path and just something that kind of mildly interests them, but they don't think about what happens after school, I tend to see those students stuck with a $50,000-$60,000 bill, and they can't get a career or get a job after college. So just something to think about. And then one last point on that, everything's blowing up here in the messages, but one last point is that go to a community college. Seriously, and in a lot of states, I believe New York is actually one of them, Stevie, correct me if I'm wrong, but in my state as well, there's a couple states where community college for students that graduate from high school, it is free. And these are actually decent colleges, and they're next to state universities where you can transfer credits really easily. And so you go to a college or you go to a four-year university, you're usually paying about, man, things could change, anywhere from $300 to $1,000 a credit. Okay, there's a wide range depending on what kind of school you go to. You go to a community college, you pay between $50 to maybe $150 a credit, and sometimes even less than that. So it's a much easier program to get into, and you pay less. And the professors, a lot of times, they're top tier. They might be teaching at the university, and they teach at the community level as well. And then other than that, honestly, the first 2 years, you're getting a lot of the prerequisites out. You're not really getting into your major classes, or what we call pro school, until your junior and senior years. So if you got to take a couple of English courses, what are they called? The classes where you learn about Excel and Word and all that stuff, philosophy and ancient Greek mythology, those are awesome classes. Take them at a community college and then transfer those credits over. It's an advice I gave to all my students when I was working in the industry. Even when I was working for a state university, I'd tell them, drop out of this university now, go to the community college, get your grades up, save $30,000, and then transfer back. So, anyways, man, I am long-winded at this. This is what happens when I can't edit myself out. All right, let's go back over to the messages here. Okay. Tom asked, man, you guys asked a lot of questions here. Okay. JJ, yeah. I'm too chicken to surf Pipeline. Those waves are freaking heavy, man. I don't have the surfboard here. It's at my other place. But I have this, you guys don't know, they make surfboards in two different styles. There's fiberglass and there's epoxy. Epoxy is freaking tough. Like, you can chuck it down a flight of stairs and it won't get dinged or break or anything. This one right here is fiberglass. You can bump into it and you'll put a big old ding in it, but it's lighter and it's more flexible. Anyways, I'm surfing in some pretty heavy waves, nothing crazy, and it snapped my board. That was actually the time I almost drowned. And Pipeline, I've seen Pipeline do that to boards all the time, and it's just not something I want to do or experience. I'm more realistic about my skill level, and I'm not Pipeline skill level. Dang, Stevie. Yeah, that's a problem that I saw in a lot of my students. 6 figures in debt and from school. It's a tough one, man. Hopefully you got it consolidated and you've got something. You do nothing that you study. Yeah. Yep, you're right. A lot of stuff that I learned through my MBA program, the only thing I can see is you don't get the experience with the classroom. So, Stevie, by the way, check out Stevie's, if you're just running into this channel, Not Another Cooking Show. He's a phenomenal chef. He actually used to run a food cart Stevie, surprisingly, I haven't told you this. I actually got involved with investing in a food cart 3 years ago, and I'm a type of through my education, my experience, I don't believe in like, kind of sitting in the ivory tower and like talking down to. But I always love getting like on the ground floor stuff. So not only did I invest in this food cart, but I also worked the food cart. It was Italian too. Funny enough, it was handmade, homemade gnocchi with this great meat sauce. It was phenomenal. It is hard work, man. Jeez, but mad respect for Stevie. But check out his channel. Do not watch it if you're hungry. Or I like to watch it when I'm eating something. It makes my food taste a little bit better. But Stevie actually used to run a grilled cheese food cart, which I would kill for right now. I haven't had dinner yet. I want to test this out first. Okay. Let's see. What's up, Chuck? Hey, Chuck, thanks for coming in. Man, I'm so behind on these messages. I'm sorry, you guys. Okay. Tom, I'm not sure when you asked this question. That's funny. Maybe we just have like minds. Tom asks, Kai, what would you recommend for someone interested in philosophy and history? I would like to study both or one of these, and I was wondering career paths would lead to. Tom, yeah. Hey, like I said earlier, they're phenomenal subjects. I want to put out a word of warning, my 2 cents, I guess, is that there's not much of a career in those paths. I mean, there's maybe one for those 0.01 percenters. There's a decent career out there, but they're phenomenal subjects nonetheless. But you can take Ivy League or Ivy level courses online for free now. But if you're really interested and you want to interact with the classroom, Tom, I'd say go to your local community college and get in that classroom environment and see if it's something that you really like. It's better if you realize you don't like it. And people, oh, by the way, I believe these stats might be a little bit outdated, but the average student who goes into undergrad at 18 years old, they change their major 6 times by the time, if and when they graduate. So that number could be a little skewed. I know I changed mine 4 times. Yeah, 4 times. So the average is 6. So don't paint yourself in a corner if you want to go to a 4-year university and you want to study philosophy and history. Don't make that your major, but you can definitely double major in that. And then I know, Tom, you've mentioned before that you're super interested in like film and like graphics, I believe. I could be wrong. But yeah, take those classes. Test them out at a local community college. And then if you really like it, go for it. Nice. Okay, so JJ Buckner, who also has a great investing channel, check it out. He got his 2 years of community college for free. Did you get that for free? Is that for like all students, or did you get like some cool scholarship or fellowship? And all of his credits transferred over for his engineering degree? Dude, see? You're so much smarter than me. I went straight to a 4-year university. Nicholas, is it true jobs are for losers? No, absolutely not. I think jobs are a phenomenal thing. I've been working since I was 14, and it's a great way to gain experience. And for me, it was a great way to learn that I didn't like being in a job, but I understand that job is a great way to create a lot of opportunities for a lot of people. And some people, I gravitate towards entrepreneurship, and a lot of people hate entrepreneurship. And I totally understand that. It's a tough life, but no, absolutely, it's not for losers at all. There's a lot of honorable jobs. Joseph Corpus, I commented on one of your earlier videos in which you mentioned putting some of my Valley tips towards high yield investments as a start. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, please? And thanks. Putting some of my Valley towards high yield investments as a start. Yeah, so high yield investments to me is a little bit different, because when I first started out, Joseph, this is probably about a decade ago, I started off with really simple stuff. So I believe I'd mentioned in the comments, this is a money market account. And at that time, believe it or not, money market accounts which are way more prevalent now than before, they were at like 5 to 6%. Insane, right? So you could actually save and make a lot of money off money markets. Right now, I think it's floating. Mine just got bumped up to like, I think 1.7% right now. So, I mean, it's getting better. It's not great. So my first thing is, as you're educating yourself in understanding investments, find a money market account, take it out of the 0% checking or savings at the local bank or whatever that you're at. Instead of getting 0.1 or 0%, at least get that 1.7%. And then you can work your way up and start analyzing or educating yourself on mutual funds. And that's how I did it. I started looking at funds and funds and indexes. Indexes? And that's basically the whole market. So you're not betting on a single stock or a single fund. You start by looking at indexes. And then I went into mutual funds, and then eventually, and I got that research because I had a 401k at the time. So I had to study funds anyways. And then from there, I went into stocks. And then from stocks, I went into, and by the way, I understand I understand financials and how to read stocks. By no means am I a savvy investor. I just understand the story behind the business, and it looks better than it is because I got in like 2008, 2009. So you could throw a dart at a map, a random map of different stocks. Well, that's not true because a couple of the stocks that I bought went bankrupt. I invested in Wachovia. Horrible idea, but they went bankrupt. But at the same time, Wells Fargo, Starbucks did really well for me. Nvidia did really well for me. So, what was I talking about? But yeah, so understand the stock market. I got in 2008, 2009 when everything was rock bottom. Everything went up really well for me, so I made out like a bandit. But with that said, today I'd recommend the same thing. As you're building your knowledge, you've got to educate yourself on wherever you're putting your money. I don't care what it is, whether it's trading baseball cards, Star Wars figures, or investing in a new graphic design business. I don't know. Is that you have to educate yourself and understand those markets. It's no different than the stock market or 401k, especially when you're talking about several hundreds, maybe thousands, or hundreds of thousands of dollars. And coming from personal experience from my parents, watching my good friends lose their homes, lose their 401ks, lose their nest eggs. Every single one of those situations, obviously timing and bad luck was a large part of it, is that those folks didn't understand, and it hurts me to say, it's like they didn't understand what their money was put into. And we're talking about hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars. And the same thing in the real estate market. I have to be very careful with how I shield myself because I have a ton of money tied up in properties. And so when things go really bad or really wrong, I have to make sure that, investors call it diversifying. I never liked that word, but I have to make sure that I have myself set up with enough safety nets where if something goes really wrong, I'm okay. That was long-winded too. I hope that helped you, Joseph. Yeah, take a look at I like Ally Bank. They have 1.7% right now, I believe. And then start looking at indexes, mutual funds, and then I have another friend on here, Michael J. He does value investing. He might have another thing about it, but to say about this, but I really like adjustable insurance policies, life insurance policies, because there's a way that you can actually get a high yield interest rate off of it. Northwestern Mutual. Look into it, do your research first. I did mine, so I already have this policy that's been going on close to a decade now, but it's definitely something that spits off. I think right now it's giving me about an average of 5.5%. I could be wrong. I haven't checked it in a couple months, but yeah. Okay. Let's see. Man, you guys are asking good questions. Argentinian food. You know what, Tom? I've never had Argentinian food. I need to get that. I need to try some of that. What's up, Michael? I just talked about you. Hey, Michael, please. Michael J. I'm not sure. I'm assuming J's your last name. But, Michael, put up a video or answer down below in the comments about that adjustable life insurance policy thing. Michael actually used to work in insurance policies. And so he has some warnings about it, which I think are very good, very valid, considering he worked in it and I didn't. I read over my policy. My policy didn't have those fees that Michael was talking about, but I know that a lot of others probably do. Oh, cool, JJ. That's so he had a program called the A Plus program where you do 40 hours of tutoring and then you get two. Sorry, phone just came in. Phone call just came in. The one of the state schools here that I was about to do had something very similar. Where it was a fellowship where basically I would help coach incoming students and then they would pay for my MBA program. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff like that. That's awesome, JJ. Invincible Summer. I'm a new subscriber and I love your channel, Kai. Thank you, sir or ma'am, miss. I have a question. What's your thought on single family unit rentals? I keep hearing multifamily is the only way to go, but they are too expensive. You know, guys, my screen looks like it froze up. Can you guys text me and let me know if you guys can still see it? Because my screen is frozen. Am I still live? Uh-oh. Hope I'm still live here, guys. All right, it's saying it's reconnecting. All right, I don't want too much. Shoot. I hope I didn't get disconnected. Am I still live, Stevie? My screen is completely frozen. My chat says I'm disconnected. Now the whole site just went down. Okay, I'm good. Excellent. Well, okay. Sorry for that dead air, you guys. Literally my whole screen, my chat just went blank. But what was I? Who was I just answering? I forget the question that somebody had just asked me. Dang it, it was a good question too. It was about, someone asked about foreign exchange. I know nothing about foreign exchange. I'm assuming that's like trading with the dollars and pounds and such. I have such limited knowledge of that. I'm not even going to try and dive into that. But I've had trading friends who made good money off of it. Definitely look into it. My thing is that you gotta understand. So when I look at businesses, I always study the financials. It tells me a story, so then I can invest in it. And how the stock market and how foreign exchange works is that it's basically the public is voting on the value of, in this case, whether it's currency or it's a stock, an actual share of a stock, is that they're voting on the value of it. But if you can understand the history, you can understand what's actually happening fundamentally within that business or within that country or that economy, you can better predict and understand what you're investing in. And the tough thing with me is that I'm not very good with the geopolitical and international economies. So if you are good at that or you have a deep understanding of it, yeah, take a look at it. Give it a shot. Okay. Sorry guys, I can't access, let me try to access it this way. Top chat. Oh, here you go. Hey Kevin, what's up, man? That's who I was. Oh, okay. Two more questions and I'm gonna have to get off here. I'm starving. All right. Invincible Summer, I'm so sorry. To get back to you, question about what are your thoughts about single family rentals? I keep hearing multifamily. Yes, I'm actually in the process of trying to purchase a wholesale multifamily unit right now. It's a triplex. And they are expensive. They can be very expensive. That I'm sitting on a ball. That wasn't, yeah. So that's what that noise was. Single family is a great way to start, especially if you get like a condo or a townhome. Just be careful of HOA fees, and the HOAs have special regulations on how you can rent it and what, a lot of times condos you can only manage. It's for insurance reasons. So just make sure that when you buy it and you intend to rent it out, that you understand that if they're near capacity or they're over capacity or they're way under capacity. That's the only thing about condos and townhomes. But they are also a great entryway into the rental market. So single family homes can work. It's going to be a little bit more challenging though, because most of the time, I'd say, rough estimate, 85% of the time, the rent that you can get, actually I take that back, it's totally dependent on the city that you're in. The rent that you can get is going to be pretty close to the mortgage that you can get, or the mortgage payment that you have to pay each month. On top of maintenance, taxes, insurance, and whatever else that you have going on with the home and the property itself. So if you understand what you're doing and you can find a good deal, whether you have to fix it up a little bit or you have some cash in the bank that you can put towards the principal to lower that monthly payment, at the end of the day, the name of the game in any business, I don't care if it's rentals or it's you're starting up a new lemonade stand or you're a Fortune 500 company, the name of the game is always cash flow. And if anybody tells you anything different, they are lying to you or they're trying to deceive you, because cash flow is what makes a company run, okay? And so at the end of the day, with real estate, we saw a lot of people get hit hard back in 2006, 2007 when they saw their equity in their homes drop and they didn't have the cash flow. Shoot, now my battery's about to die. So I am going to wrap this up real fast. So you create that cash flow, because even in the down market, if you're cash flowing $200, $300, $400, $500 a month, even if that equity takes a huge hit, you'll be okay. Make sense? And then once you start building that equity again and you get that cash flow after 2 years, you can claim it as income with taxes, is that you can upgrade or pull out even a HELOC, home equity line of credit, and move that money into a duplex or a triplex. And then once you start being a little bit more successful, you can actually start teaming up with other folks, get into investment groups, and form projects and get new properties. Hopefully that makes sense. But there's nothing wrong with single family homes. Just make sure that it cash flows and run scenarios for the worst case scenario. Okay, Kevin Barry, I don't know what SMMA stands for, so I'm sorry. If you can, I gotta hop off here before my phone just dies out on me. But send me a message later, and I'd love to answer your question. But I'm not sure what it stands for, so I'm probably not super keen or educated on it. But I can attempt to try and answer it if I knew what it was. But okay, everybody, last rollover of the chat. Yeah, Stevie. I see that. You know what? You're not the only one. You're not the only one with that problem in new businesses. I honestly see it in, gosh, from brand new entrepreneurs all the way up to promising entrepreneurs starting up businesses, is that they look at revenue, they look at the top line, right? And they forget about how cash works, because one quick example is I was working with this company that was pulling in, gosh, $500,000-$600,000 a month, smaller local company, in revenue. They couldn't understand why their bank account was dropping $50,000 to $100,000 a month, because their revenues look phenomenal. And so it's a mess of stuff, especially in businesses that have a lot of inventory, like a food cart that's moving in and out. And then you probably have accounts receivables, accounts payable. Well, I take that back. You don't have any accounts receivable, but you have accounts payable to your suppliers. So that stuff can just add up. And then if you don't look at it right, and especially if you're an owner operator, it can get way out of hand. But okay. Thank you so much for tuning in. everybody. Thanks so much for you guys for jumping in and giving me feedback, answering or asking questions. Thank you for the support. And I'm sorry for this super long video that was supposed to be like a 10-minute test video, but this is super fun. You guys are totally right. So take care, and I'll see you guys all on the other side. Peace.